Magnus Carlsen in Armageddon.
What has got Magnus so pumped? We're about to find out. We're rewinding to an oldie but a goldie, the FTX Crypto Cup 2021, the final. Who's got black pieces here? Say it ain't so. Wesley's a pro and it's an Armageddon, meaning that Magnus has to win with the white pieces, but he gets more time. It's an online event. Let's check this one out. Classic game. Magnus goes e4, and after e5 we get the ponies developing and bishop c4. The Gucci Reza piano, named after the best dressed man in chess, and after knight f6, d3, bishop c5, standard stuff for the course. Magnus just gets the king out of dodge. h6 is played, taking control of g5 and i5. Now we see c3. Magnus wants to erect that big white center, and after castles, before Wesley can do anything else, Magnus pushes p, sets up the overpowered bathtub pawn formation here. We've got the bishop chilling with his rubber ducky, and after bishop b6, bang, a4, rarely seen at the top level of guild masters, the extended bathtub. The bishop's about to get squashed like a bug, so a6 gives some breathing room, and after this final horsey enters the game, d6 played, rook e1. Now Wesley decides it's time for some horseplay. Goes on the great rotation, releasing the central pawns, but before he can get there, Magnus goes d4 for the
mushrooms.
And I do not like how Wesley responds. You know, knight g6 my preferred. And by the way, if you want to check out your openings, middle games, end games, or that road to the elusive 2000, have a look at the link in the video description. I've been going on about it all weekend. It's the last chance saloon. Cyber Monday, Black Friday is done. The remote chess academy courses, they're absolutely out of this world. So many people already signing up to it. Give it a go. They're absolutely outstanding. Link in the description. Huge discount, 80%. Check it out. Now, what do we see Wesley play? Not the knight g6, where he can maintain his center, but takes. Fine. Why are you giving Magnus oodles of central space? Well, he wants d5 for the high five. This is his idea. And he's saying, you retreat the bishop, I take on e4, you've got the Isolani, very nice, very nice. I'll blockade d5. But is Magnus so obliging? No. He now plays the pawn thrust of e5, saying, you take my bishop, fine, I take your pony, and I'm about to rip open your king. Whether white takes or black takes on f6, that is not a pleasant structure. So that's why we see the knight getting out of the way here, but this is a very unpleasant pawn structure now. This one spearheading an attack. Magnus with a pleasant choice of where to put the bishop. He retreats it back towards the king, anticipating this move. You know, sometimes you now see h3, king h2, and then g3. And with this, with this bishop here and king supporting h3, you know, you don't have to worry about that one. But not this game. Knight b3 instead played. Opens the eyes of the queen and the bishop, about to win a knight, plus eyeballs this juicy square. Magnus wants to spawn a seahorse, so this one swings round, covers its brother. Now we see a5, more time gained, and after bishop takes on f4, why is Magnus ceding the bishop pair? Is he really a grandmother or a very naughty boy? Well, the point being, he's given up the bishop that has all the pawns on the dark squares, so it wasn't the greatest of pieces. Meanwhile, he's freed the c-file in some lines. Queen d2 now hits that stallion. It drops back meekly. What a wimp. And now Magnus spawns this seahorse. Absolute monster. A beast of a knight there, looming over the position, squashing this bishop. And bishop g4 is the best move. Carry on development. Queen e3 can come. Different game. But Wesley plays a move that makes Lord Hans Feingold wince. f6. Wow, Swiss cheese on the light squares here. Not ideal when white still got the light squared one. So Magnus immediately springs back into the game, hits that springer in front of the king. If you drop back to e7 here, well, e6 can come. What a bone in the throat. So f5 is now played, passing that pawn like a ship in the night, but this one is now a connected passed pawn. That is ugly. So bishop c2 from Magnus. One day maybe looking for that queen bishop battery, then go for a checkmate. So rook e8 is now played, coming in front of the passed pawn, very sensible. And after g3, finally Wesley's had enough of this absolute stallion. He chops it off there, and Magnus takes back, setting up one of the most powerful advanced camel toe pawn formations we've seen in a while. Bishop e6 now blockades. This is why the knight was eliminated, but this one really just a tall pawn. Not fun. Rook ab1 hits the open file. It's where rooks belong, or half open file this actually is. We now see rook b8 covering, and this is the moment where Magnus sits back, puffs out his chest, and he's like, do you even rook lift, bro? Swings that one over. Knight e7's played, a rotating defensive move. This one swings, stacking the two towers. Tolkien's proud. Queen c8, a miserable defensive move, setting up a lovely battery, but on what? The pawn's killing everything. And this is at the heart of positional play, right? In some lines, you just want to ditch that pawn, activate 1, 2, 3 pieces all in one go, maybe even 4 pieces. That's the positional idea. But Magnus is alive to it, starts fighting back, targets the pawn, and there's some stunning lines here. What if g5 to chase the knight back? Yes, can be played, rook f8, let's say, but now how about this? Sacrifice, then crashing through, the queen on the way. And the great thing about this is that if you try and run, you get forced back, and then there's these lines like c6 distracting the knight. Pawn can't take, you crash through, and then you look at things like g4 to swing a rook, open the bishop. Crazy attacking lines. So g5 held off on. Instead, we see rook f8. Now the knight voluntarily hops back, looking for f4. Again, if g5, then h4 starts to undermine the pawn structure. So bishop d7 is played, and Magnus just misses a beat now, low on time. He plays the move of h4, securing the knight outpost a bit more. Natural, but now this bishop hits this diagonal here. Magnus should have played bishop d3 or moved the rook, because now when he moves the rook, Wesley gets to take, and that's a positional win for him. That bishop was dead, suddenly just traded for Magnus's really good one, and Magnus blunders here. Should take with the rook so that the queen can keep an eye on f4. He takes with the queen, however. Wesley now misses a shot. This is where he has to just go full blitz, wood on the fire mode, whatever the saying is, and just push that pawn, right? Because if knight captures, natural, then bang, you take, you invade with the queen, and you can bring the rook over. Ditch the queen side, get the play, the knight's galloping in. This is really dangerous, and apparently a level position now. That was the way to go, but missed. Wesley goes knight c6, aiming for the center. Natural. Magnus covers. g5 lashing out, trying to rip open the king. But after hg, it's now Magnus that thrusts with f4. All the pawns now on dark squares, connected. Yes, the position's closed, but knights do well, hopping in closed positions. King g7, looking for some rook h8 action. So Magnus anticipates, mini bomb clouds his own king, clears the way. Now rook h8, and Magnus decides to take. You open the king a bit, but clear a square for the knight. So this rook invades, pins. King f3, very playable, looks natural, but Magnus slides with the queen. What a tricky move, and this is the final explosive part of the game. Different ways to go. f4 apparently best again, but Wesley takes the pawn which is offered. Very natural. We know how tricky these hoppy guys are, curvetting all over the place. And after queen takes on d5, hitting the knight, now the best move is queen d8, but doesn't look natural to trade those queens. Instead, the knight drops back. Now we see Magnus go e6, threatening to invade on d7, hitting the pawn, and there's one last trick. Because now, when Wesley finds queen d8, looking at the g5 pawn, it looks very natural to take here, cover the pawn, look to invade. But huge mistake. Black centralizes that widow spider, and after the check, wherever the king goes, the rook is coming. You know, if you step back, the rook comes here, wins the queen. If you go to the e file, let's say, and not to e2, so that you can keep this protecting here, well, now still rook f8, the queen runs away, but look at this invasion. It actually leads to a checkmate. Horrible lines. That's how quick chess can turn. But Magnus is alive to it, invades, checks, swaps off the ladies. Few of his fans start bleating, and after rook d8, he covers the pawn. Yes, knight e5, double attacks it, but bang, again, astute to the tactics, doesn't double the rooks, does this. You cannot take, because after this, you're winning back the piece due to the pin. Same tactics exist whether you took with the knight first. Then you're in even more kind of trouble, really. So that wasn't played. Instead, king g6 steps away from the tactics, but now bang, Magnus takes. Wesley resigns the game in view of the fact that the pawns are running, and this is essentially hopeless with the two connected passers. Rook c8 also on the way. This is reaction.
Magnus wins.
Wow, look at that. Magnus Carlsen in Armageddon.
Absolutely pumped. What a game of chess, and he took home the tournament. Why was he so pumped up? Well, Wesley had previously beaten him that year in a Champions Chess Tour event, plus he blundered a game in this very match. He wasn't a happy bunny, but gets it done in this game. Do check out the link in the description. A whopping 80% off. This comes round once a year. It's Last Chance Saloon. Thanks very much for watching, and have a look at the video on screen for some more epic chess. Cheers.